Dear friends, welcome back to my channel. Let's read from the timeless collection of R.M. Rajgopal. Let's listen. The grass is green, the sky is blue. Begin with the story. He had better, Malati told herself. He had better do well. Look at all the effort she had put in. 3 months of painstaking planning, 3 months of time and energy expended, 3 months of making sure that everything was just right. All of it depended on this day, on 5 or 10 or 15 minutes. What if it didn't go well? What should he do then? Ravi was of no help whatsoever. With his office, his job, his traveling for work, his tensions, his having to work on weekends, and the endless phone calls, even when he was at home. Single handedly, she told herself, I have done all of this on my own. Thank God he has at least condescended me to put in an appearance today. Taken 2 hours off from his precious work. Look at him, all curled up under his quilt, sleeping like an overgrown baby with a day's growth of stubble on his cheeks and under his chin. How can he? It's as if he hasn't a care in the world. Never mind, she tells herself. Let me deal with Tarun first. I'll get to Ravi later. She runs through the stuff in her mind as she hurries through her morning ablutions. He seems to know most of it. Yes, he does. But knowing is one thing, saying it all and correctly is another. He's so moody. That's what worries her. Can't blame it on the lack of practice. Of that she's sure, for the sessions have been many and relentless. What do you say when you go in? Good morning, Auntie. What is the color of the sky? Blue. And what is the color of grass? Green. Spell rat. RT. What comes after 4? 6. No. 5. He gets his arithmetic mixed up all the time. That's what she ought to focus the practice on this morning. There's a possibility of an entire half an hour between now and departure time. She had better bath him and change him once again into the same pajamas that he's wearing. Changing him into clothes especially procured for the occasion this early was dangerous, for Tarun had a natural affinity for dirt, just as dirt appeared to have a natural affinity for him. This combination of affinities could be a pretty deadly, as she had learned from the continued experience, for her new whirlpool was no match for the streaks of yellow and brown that they got smeared evenly front and back on his clothes. This made her often wonder how he managed to get dirt at points of the anatomy that normally one requests another to scratch or sometimes use a longish pencil or the pointed corner of a plastic ruler. But he manages to, and with aplomb, which is why she is going to change him only minutes before departure. For the clothes he will wear are pristinely clear and clean, and especially brought for the occasion. A pullover in the pale shades of blue, and cream to set off the dark blue of his jeans, and a sparkling white of his Bata Adidas. All of 400 just for the shoes? But Malati is sure the investment is justified for an event so momentous, so critical to their lives, and worth every paisa spent. Only she hopes it all adds up to the things and it work out well in the end. Mrs. Trehan seemed confident yesterday during the last minute confabulations. She had said he was ready. She had spent the last 3 months ironing out every wrinkle and knew what kind of testing they did and what nature of question was asked and felt that he was thorough. That's why prep time is so popular, she said. That's why we are in such demand. It has a cent% placement rate. You can indicate your choice of schools, first and second. We focus, we prioritize, we prepare the child in that order. The trick lies as much in the mastering technique as in knowing what each school wants. Like progressive gives top marks to diction and correctness in spoken English, right? The nuances are what is important. Then there are some newfangled ones that doesn't test the children at all, or at least claim not to. But Mrs. Trahan says that she doesn't trust them one bit. For what with Mundell and all 95% is the bare minimum for a decent college. Let us wait and see. She says, all this rubbish about the all round development is okay, but let us see how they fare when it comes to the crunch. As if interviewing the parents alone is going to do any good. She was certain Ravi and she could talk their way through, giving them all the answers that they had wanted to hear. The other day, she had heard something horrific. This chap, who had not so smart spouse, took along his sister-in-law instead, his younger brother's wife, who was convent educated and everything and could communicate well. How would the school ever find out that they weren't man and wife? Then there was a mischievous friend of theirs, Nishant, who told the folks on the interview board that he would wake up every Sunday and spend half an hour with his son telling him the story of the Mahabharata episode that aired on the TV at 9. The board was awfully impressed. It is 6:30 now, and 2.5 hours remain to departure time. Malati wonders whether she should wake up Ravi, but decides against it. He would only come in the way of the last minute preparations. She walks across to Tarun's bedroom, and he is in deep slumber, lying diagonally across the bed, his right hand folded under his head. And having discarded his pillow sometime during the night, his quilt crumpled at the foot. Malati shakes him gently and he lets out a tiny whimper as he opens his eyes, reaches down the bed, grabs his quilt, and attempts to snuggle under it. No, no, Tarun, she said softly. It's time to wake up. She lifts him off the bed, cuddles him on her shoulders, his face close to hers, and whispers in his ear, wake up. You've got your interview today, remember? It had been quite a struggle getting him into the bed early and the night before, and Ravi had been surprised to find him fast asleep when he reached home at 8. 11 hours, that's what he needed, and that's what he got. Malati is pleased. At least he won't be grouchy on this count. She carries him into the bathroom where his toothbrush is at the ready, a small blot of toothpaste on the bristle. He stands on the tiptoe and leans into the wash basin to brush his teeth. He's more awake now and she asks, what will you say when you go into the room? Good morning, Auntie. What's the number of your car? DBC 3686. Okay, and what is your telephone number? 6486346. Very good, Tarun. That's very clever. And what will you say if the auntie gives you sweets? Thank you, Auntie. Progressive like polite child, or so she had been told. What color is the sky? Green. No, blue. What color is your sweater? But Mama, I'm wearing pajamas. That brings her back to the present. Soon he is scrubbed and clean, and Malati sits with him on the bed, revising the alphabet first, then the numbers. Okay, Tarun, what comes after 3? 4. And what comes after 6? 5. No, Tarun. 7. 7, he repeats. Understood? He nods his head gravely, and so it goes on another half an hour more. Then it is time to haul the Ravi out of bed, and he grumbles. She nearly lost her temper and tells him, don't you have any sense of responsibility? Look at me. Last month, with you away in Bombay, I was up at 3. I left Tarun with Lakshmi at home, and it was freezing cold, standing outside the school gates. But at least I was somewhere near the head of the queue, and I got the registration forms, which I believe a lot of people who arrived in the early hours didn't. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. He's your son after all. Do you want him to study in some so-called convent school like St. Annie's, around the corner that has nothing Christian about it? I know it is owned by Mr. Kohli. This is the one chance. Let me make that clear, because getting into any other higher class is any worthwhile school later is impossible. So better take today seriously. Also, I am told that the crowds there are huge and you often have to wait, which is why I told you to take the first half off and not just 2 hours. So you don't keep looking at your watch and grumbling. It's your son's life after all. She makes sure that all of them are ready and breakfast at quarter to 9. Ravi has on a neat blazer and grey flannels and a pale blue shirt with a deep maroon tie. She is in a subdued deep blue silk, not a very expensive one, and not a striking in the least because she doesn't want to be in any manner conspicuous. It's only a 10-minute drive to the school, but she insists on going early so that the Tarun gets used to the setting, the atmosphere. Ravi grumbles under his breath but doesn't dare to go further, and wisely so, because he has judged the tension in the air nicely and knows that the smallest spark can end up in a conflagration. So they are at school at 5 to 9, and there are several parents like them there already, and Malati gives him one of those I told you so looks out of the corner of her eyes. You've got to tell them that you spend time with Tarun in case they ask. I know you don't, but they like parents who do. So you've got to do what to say, okay? And don't talk a lot. Crisp and short answers. I believe that's what goes. They don't like much of the garrulous show offs. And please, don't pick up any arguments even if you disagree with something that is said. That is absolutely the wrong thing to do. And don't you cross your legs when you sit. And don't slouch in your chair. And you must say good morning, auntie, when you go in, says Ravi. Her eyes bristle with righteous anger. Don't you take anything seriously, she said. Your son's life is most important day until now, and this is how you behave? Oh God, sorry, says Ravi. I was just joking. This is no time or place for jokes. Soon it is 9:30 and a list of names are read out. 10 of them, Ravi counts, all given appointments at the same time. They are number 6 in serial order. This means even at 10 minutes for the test and 10 for the interview. The children are called in turn and are led in like so many lambs to be slaughtered, wide eyed and nervous, and mothers walk apart of the distance and whisper final instructions in their ears. One stubbornly refuses to go, and the mother carries him all the way to the door of the room where the testing is to take place. He starts bawling loudly, and that prompts yet another to start in the chorus. The result is that all the mothers start looking slightly wild eyed and curse the howler under their breaths, praying that their offspring don't behave similarly. But the pleas for divine intervention are of no avail, as a couple more join the hours. One petite young lady in a designer suit and a pashmina, who you wouldn't think could hurt a fly, administers a sharp one on the rear side of a ward sitting next to them, and his bawling only increases in pitch and intensity. The next moment you hear a loud stage whisper as she pleads with him, Please, Abhik, please, don't, please for my sake, don't create a scene. If you love me, she is alone. The father either at work or a late sleeper, or maybe she is a single parent in the manner of the day. Tarun is stoic through his meal and gets up and goes without demur when his name is called, and you can see the pride in Malati's eye as he clutches at Ravi's arm in relief. Tarun is back 15 minutes later, looking none the worse of the fear. Malati asks him, What did they ask you? He says, Everything. She asks, Did you know everything that they ask? And he replies in the affirmative. Numbers? He nods his head. ABCD? He nods his head again. Jigsaw? One more nod. He can do 50 pieces, one with consummate ease. That's the extent of his practice. Did you do everything correctly? A nod again. Malati seems satisfied. She is more relaxed now, and she actually smiles at Ravi and tells him, Now it is only the interview that's left, and I am sure he will do well. And suddenly she is nervous again and asks Tarun, What will you say when you go into the room? Good morning, auntie. More waiting. Tarun wants to go at a swing and slide, and the jungle gym that he sees in the distance Please, Mama, please. No, no, Malati tells him, you can't. You will get your clothes dirty. Another half hour passes and Tarun fidgets constantly. One more appeal to proceed to swing is turned down. Then finally it's their turn. Malati gets up, brushes a speck of something off Tarun's sweater, gives Ravi a once over and leads the way purposefully, the other two following a couple of paces behind. They open the door on which a brass plated read Principal and they go inside. There is this rather tired looking old man, well past middle age, sitting behind a table of intimidating size, who looks up and gives them a wan smile. Tarun smiles at him as he has been taught to say and said, Good morning, Auntie. The man looked preoccupied. Maybe he hasn't heard, Malati hopes. Not Auntie, Uncle, she hisses in Tarun's ear. Ravi stifles a sudden urge to giggle. Good morning, the man says. Relief is writ on Malati's face. He's missed the auntie bit. Sit down, sit down. They sit, Malati perched on the edge of the chair, Ravi straight backed with an uncrossed legs. Tarun looked a little bemused, but by no means over. What is your name? Tarun Shankar. How old are you? I am 4. And what does your father do? He works in the office. What does he do? He eats lunch. Mama sends him a big tiffin every day. Malati is squirming in her chair, helpless. Okay, what is your phone number? 648-6346. Okay, what are the colors on your sweater? The sweater is made up of 2 large squares. He points at each in turn. Blue? Yellow? See, Mama, it isn't even dirty. Tarun tells to the principal, She told me not to get it dirty or else the auntie will get angry. He pauses for a second as realistic dawns. But you are an uncle, not an auntie. Where is the auntie? Malati looks as if she wants to crawl under the oversized table and die. The little squat, all that effort, all those rehearsals are now in vain. Why? Don't you like me? No, says Tarun. You are ugly. Malati has this insane desire to get up and run. Even Ravi's throat is drying up. Tarun is oblivious and his eyes scan the room as he sits on the chair, swinging his legs, a beatific smile on his face. Mr. Ravi Shankar? He looks at Ravi. Where do you work? Ravi tells him. Is the job transferable? Yes, says Ravi, but it is unlikely that he would get moved out. Thank you, says the principal. But is that all? Asks Malati. They stand up and file out of the room, and it is silence all the way to the car. They drive off, and you can cut that silence with a knife as they approach the last traffic light before the stretch to their house. The light turns red, and Ravi slows the car to the halt, and the dam beaches. It's entirely your fault, Malati tells him, her shoulders heaving as she sobs into the pallu of her sari. If only he would spend more time with him, he wouldn't be like this. Ravi is silent, wisely. Tarun edges up from the rear, puts his head forward between the 2 front seats, looks bemused at his mother, and pipes up. But Papa, why is Mama crying? What have I done? Dear friends, this is the end of the story. This story actually is a replica of the children getting admitted to the renowned institutions, renowned schools, and the ugly process of admission that the parents go through. Please stay tuned for another story and do not forget to like, share, and subscribe the channel.